lot of people want to start a welding business, but they don't exactly know the business side that goes along with that. I might know from experience. Welcome to Weld, where each week we explore different pathways in the welding industry. I'm your host, Beau Wigington, and this week we're diving into some of my personal favorite advice that people have given us here on the podcast over the past 3 years. We dive in right now. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about you, what you do, and where you are, just in case they're not familiar with your work?
My name's Anthony. I go by Melton Metal Anthony on YouTube and Instagram. I'm a mobile welder. Currently, I'm in Montana. I'm making a move, and I'm in the middle of building my own home here in Madison Valley, Montana.
Your videos are some of my favorite just because the honesty you bring to the table. It's not a production. It's just, this is what's going on. This is who I am. I just love the honesty in your videos, and that's what drew me to following you.
Yeah, I try to just keep it as real as possible. And I don't know, when I was a kid, it was really frowned upon to lie and hide things. So I don't like to hide things or lie in my videos. I like to just keep it as honest as possible. And if I think somebody screwed up and they're trying to screw me, I just say it because it's really what I feel. And sometimes it gets me into trouble. I've burned a lot of bridges of being too honest with people, especially contractors. They don't want to hear that they made a mistake. And a lot of the times, you run into a lot of egos in this business. Being honest isn't exactly what you want to do all the time. It works for YouTube because it's a little bit refreshing other than the painted and primed and primmed versions of TV and everything else we can take on a day-to-day basis. So you don't have to be the best welder underneath the sun. Everybody wants to be the stacking dimes guy, you know? Everybody wants to be the hot shot. But it really doesn't, you just got to be good enough to make it presentable, show up on time, and do what you say you're going to do, and just be a man of your word, and that'll take you way further than being Mr. Stacking Dimes or whatever, which is a big misconception. A lot of these guys think that you need to be the best, top of your game in order to run a welding business. I'm not the best welder by a mile. I do employ or get work for some of the best welders that you've ever met. I'm happy to have them on my team. And what they get from me is business knowledge. I show them how to be in business and not to make any mistakes. And I save them a lot of money there, and they do work for me and do great jobs, a better job than I could do most of the time.
Through the journey I take through your videos, that's the mentality I get from them. Is just, if you don't know how to do it, figure it out. Just get out there and keep doing it.
Be a man of your word. Like I said, you don't have to be the best welder on earth. You just have to show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, and just be a man of your word. That is the number one thing I can tell a new welder or a new business owner.
I'm Jason, and this is my wife, Miranda.
Hi.
Well, you can introduce yourself.
I can introduce myself.
But we own a small fabrication shop in Southwest Wisconsin. The name of it is Chasson Smoke, and we build barbecue pits. I always say we're barbecue pits and handrails, but we offer other products as well. But yeah,
that's the gist of it.
That's the gist of it.
Working together as a husband and wife duo, that is a difficult thing to do. Can you kind of tell us the journey? Like, when did you decide to start a business together?
Well, we were living in Louisiana. I was working in the oil field, and it was one of those things of, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. Is that the word? I'm not sure if that's the word.
All right.
Starting our own business was something we wanted to do. It started off with custom spurs is kind of what got us into welding and the CNC work. And we started making plans. Miranda got herself an envelope system and
budgeting. Yeah.
We started budgeting hardcore. I worked all the overtime I could, and everything went to paying off our debts and preparing for making a move.
And then we started doing small little rocket stoves.
The rocket stoves.
And then those evolved into something bigger.
Well, we didn't even have a website back then. We sold it on eBay. We designed our own. That's the one we still sell to this day. We started cutting those out and, putting people's names or whatever on them. And then it was 2020 during COVID when we had our first ever viral video. And then once that video hit, that's when things started changing. Yeah.
So social media, that's where I first discovered your company as well. Like, how has social media really influenced the direction of your company?
It made the company. Social media 100% changed the game. And that's why...
marketing, no matter what, it's always going to be something we're going to be doing.
It's marketing.
We jumped on that bandwagon pretty early, and I think people now are realizing how beneficial it is for their business. And I think, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep being in front of people. And, if you keep posting and keep showing your face, people are like, oh yeah, I meant to buy one of those rocket stoves. And they come across you and they're like, I got to go do that. Or, it's just being active.
And social media was free. It didn't cost us money.
Right.
To market, and then now we're at the level. I mean, we make a pretty decent income just from social media. And that's part of the business now. I mean, that is part of the business as far as we get, in a way, we get paid to market our company. People ask me all the time, where do you find time to make content? And it's like, how do you not have time to make content? If you're that busy, then you probably don't need to be marketing because you're so
like
busy.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're that busy that you can't make time to post 3 or 4 short form videos a day, then you're probably doing pretty good for you. You're doing good. Maybe marketing's not your thing. Word of mouth in your local area is probably working great for you, or whatever marketing strategy you have. For us, we had nothing, and I didn't have any money.
And we're not really a service company. So for us, e-commerce, online store, we're trying to reach the whole nation, so it's a little different than someone just trying to advertise locally, but they still should be doing it. Anyway.
Yeah.
My name is John Malecki. Super stoked to be here. I am probably most well known now for being a YouTuber in the makerspace. I've got a couple YouTube channels. That's the driver of my business, but I've been building and making things since I retired from the NFL in 2013. And it's given me quite the blessing of a life. And I'm super stoked to kind of share that story and journey with you guys here today.
The YouTube life, I've met a ton of makers. A lot of people are out there trying to start their own YouTube channels, right? Mm-hmm. That's a dream for a lot of people. So for people out there in the making world that want to start their own YouTube channel, what's some advice you would give them?
If you are a maker and you want to start a YouTube channel, you need to get out of your own damn way. The problem with makers and YouTube is that most of us think the product that we are trying to create is going to just carry a good video. And the reality is, it is way more important to tell a good story and engage with your audience and people than it is to build something that is absolutely magnificent. So 1, drop the perfectionism. Quit caring so much about how perfect the quality of the thing you're trying to make in your video is. Bro, listen to me. Making content is the game, not whatever you're building. The video is the product. And the blessing of being on YouTube is that you get to get reps over and over and over and over again and learn from them. Come up with a good video concept and then make that. And if you happen to be making things, hell yeah. If you're a maker, that should be how you think. But the video is the product, not what you're making. So 1, eliminate perfectionism. 2, focus on making a video, not on making a project. And then 3, if you are a business owner, you sell things to the customer. You don't sell things to yourself. So stop doing everything that you want to do for yourself and thinking you're going to be successful. You wouldn't do that if you owned a business. Go think about the person you're making your content for first, and then make it for them. When I got out of my own way and stopped doing things that I wanted to do for me, everything changed for me as a YouTuber.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience just in case they're not familiar with you and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Luke Labadie. I am down here in Southwest Florida, a little bit south of Tampa. I started my journey. I was not even a welder, and I was working in a warehouse here in Sarasota is where I'm from. So working in a warehouse, unloading UPS trucks. I had a lot of time to think when I worked in that job. So, it was just a pretty mundane job for me. I loved the physical aspects to it, but I just had a lot of time to think. And over the couple years that I was there, I just felt like I wasn't really going anywhere in life. So started thinking a lot about my future, just day in, day out, just thinking, where do I want to be? Where do I want to be in 5 years? So
classic question.
It really is, man. And you have to be forward thinking, which is what I've discovered since then. But I wanted to do something with my future, but I didn't know what. I had no idea what direction I was going to go. I'm pretty open-minded most of the time. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I do know a couple things. I know that I enjoy working with my hands. That's number one. I know that I love working with my hands. I'm not afraid to get dirty. I'm not afraid to get sweaty. That's really where the journey started, was I hated where I was working. I wasn't happy with my life at the time. I wasn't happy with the money I was making. And I just wanted to change, and I wanted to learn a skill that I could always fall back on. So I was basically creating a backup plan for myself and my wife, really. So it kind of just dwindled down to trade school. It just kind of dwindled down to, okay, I want to work with my hands. I want to learn a trade, and I don't want to come out the other side deep in debt. Now, what trade? I don't want to have too many options. So I narrowed it down to 3. And what I did was I looked up my local trade school, looked up their course list, and just literally went down the list. I thought, okay, I'll pick 3 that I think I would enjoy the most. And it came down to, again, I like working with my hands. It came down to marine mechanic, electrician, and welding. Those are the 3 things that fascinated me. I had zero clue about welding whatsoever. I'd never touched a welding machine, didn't know anything. And this was probably around 2014, 2015, somewhere around that time that I made this decision to go to school. So I'm not even kidding. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't good at it, I promise. But I knew the moment I struck that first arc, something inside came over me and said, you're going to do this the rest of your life. You're like,
oh, yeah.
Just addicting. For me, it was just instantly, it was like, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. So
I'll never forget that same moment, man. It was a 70-18, striking it up.
That's it.
Running a straight line. And I was like, all right, I can do that.
That's it. It's, you know what I'm talking about. And anybody that is truly passionate about welding knows that moment. It's just, I remember it like it was yesterday. One thing, if I could suggest to the listeners, is that take any experience that you get out in the real world in fabrication or in welding, and just understand that everything you learn is always a lesson. And it may not be of use to you, or you may not be happy learning it now, but it can come in handy later in life if you decide to go a different route. And I say that to say, I was an installer and I hated doing the installs. However, fast forward to now, I own my own business, and there's times I have to go install jobs. And if I hadn't gotten that experience back then and learned everything I did in my first job ever that I hated, I wouldn't know what I do now. And and that sets me apart from other businesses in my area, because some of those people may know how to fabricate, they may know how to weld, but what good is that if you don't know how to install what you just welded? If you have to go install a railing on a customer's house, you have to know how to drill into tile. You have to know how to drill into concrete. You have to know how to install this stuff. So that really came in handy later on in life. And I knew it at the time. I was like, I know it sucks. This job sucks. I wasn't a fan of it. It wasn't what I really wanted to do, but I knew that I was immersed in the world of welding and fabrication. So I still, even though I wasn't a fan of that particular job, I just knew the value of it at the time, and I'm lucky to have realized that. So another thing I would suggest is, if you, the listener, are going to go out and start your own business, do the proper paperwork, file your LLC, make sure you understand what an LLC is, make sure you understand the aspects of business that you need to understand in order to maintain running a business. That's number 1. Number 2, get an accountant. And make sure and vet that accountant. Make sure that you have a good accountant, because listen, if you're going to start your own business, you're going to be welding and fabricating. You don't want to have to worry about your taxes and worry about all that stuff. It's extremely difficult to run a business by yourself and not have any help. I did that for several years, where I started I ran my business and I was doing everything by myself. Everything. Paperwork, the welding, the fabricating, the marketing. the advertising, the billing, the invoicing, it's a lot. In the beginning, it's not that much when you're trying to drum up work and you don't have anything to do. But once you get,
I got wood. I got wood, man.
You're happy to have one. You're happy, you're happy to have the one job a week. You're happy to have that, but once you get to a point where you can't keep up with the work you have, you need help. I don't care what anybody says. You need a team of people. And that's why businesses exist. That's why people have an office. That's why people have office managers. That's why people have employees, because the owner can't do everything themselves. And so, it got overwhelming at times. It's been very overwhelming. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but having the right people and the right team in place is critical to owning your own business.
A big part about business is learning where you can save money. And guess what? Because you're listening to the podcast right now, you can save 20% on American Welding Program courses using the code WELD20. Go check it out at AmericanWeldingProgram.org. Now, let's get back to the show. Today I'm sitting down with Kevin Johnson. So tell us a little bit about your company.
So I'm the owner of JMW Fabrication. We're based out of Eastern PA. We do a variety of things. I like to say we're ninjas at spiral staircases because that's kind of our bread and butter right now. I started the Welding Business Owners podcast because I wanted to sit down and talk with more people who are in the same boat as me, see what their point of view is, and record it for everybody else to hear.
So your company, how did that start?
I've been welding since I was 15. I got my first job in a job shop. So I've been welding more than half my life. And really, it's just been my passion. I hopped around from different job shops. I gained experience everywhere I went and always had a little bit of a side hustle. I was working, I would say 9 or 10 years ago, I was working out of a welder with a little Bobcat 225. I got off of eBay for like $200. The thing burned more oil than it did gas. I actually used to use a come along and a tree branch to get it in and out of my truck all the time. It was that, a toolbox. It's funny because the leads for that were only, I think they were like 20 feet long. So, and when you first start out, you just use what you have. Yeah. These are old battery cables that I hooked up to be leads, and it was definitely humble beginnings. So I moved from the truck to a small little welding trailer, just doing side work. The job I was at, this was 2015, early 2015. He said, "Hey, things are slowing up for us. You see the writings on the wall. How can I help you go out on your own?" So I said, "Hey, rent me a space in your shop for like 6 months until I could build something on my own." So he rented me the shop space. I kind of worked that off as a barter system. I had like a 10 by 20 carport, like plastic carport that you buy from like Pep Boys for like $150. That was like my home workspace. So started from there, built our shop, 2,500 square foot pole barn on our property that we own, and just took it from there. It got to the point where I needed a hand. So I was like, you know what? Let me just put it out there. So I had some part-time help. And then it got to the point where I needed one full-time guy. And then I needed 2 full-time guys. And then finally, I just came to the conclusion that this is going to be it. Like, I'm going to have employees. The money's rolling in. The jobs are rolling in. I can't do it all myself. I was working 70, 80-hour weeks consistently. And it was tough. At that point, we were pregnant, having a baby. Like, I don't remember exactly the time frame. And I was like, I can't be leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning and coming back at 9 o'clock at night. That's not a sustainable thing for me. I really have a passion for the business side of things. Nobody likes taxes, but I like to learn about how to mitigate my tax liability. So like stuff like that, scheduling, getting new customers, talking to customers, how you interact with them, how you retain customers, how you get new customers, all the aspects of the business side of things, which people who are welders usually hate. Mm-hmm. I kind of enjoy.
Taxes are scary. If you're doing anything that is self-employment, it is a nightmare trying to figure it out. But as far as protecting yourself as a business, what kind of insurance would you say a small business is supposed to have?
when I first got insurance, it was, I don't know, like I'm going to say it was probably about $250,000 in coverage, or maybe like $500,000 in coverage. Just doing, like, my classification was just doing ornamental ironwork, ornamental railing, stairs, architectural stuff. Like, I couldn't go above 1 story. And it was like, I don't know, like $3,000 a year or something like that. So it wasn't terrible depending on who you go with. So I work with a broker who only deals with like the actual good companies, not like in the auto insurance, there's like the general will get you like the minimum of like the car insurance. It's like, oh, $29 a month. You know, if I get into a point where I need insurance, I want my insurance company to have my back. So I decided to go with companies that are actually good. My advice: get insurance, get decent insurance, learn the terms that they want to hear. Don't answer any questions more than you need to. Yes, no answers. Because if you say one thing, they're big, oh, well, because you do that, that's a liability. We're going to charge you more money. Yeah. Just answer their questions straightforward. Just be careful with what you say you do, but be honest, you know?
My name is Oliver Adamson, and I own and run a company called Citizen Build. We're a metal fabrication company doing architectural welding.
And you just relocated recently, though, right?
Yes. We were in San Antonio, and we recently just moved to a little town just north of Tucson, Arizona.
So here's one thing that I wanted to know about your company. First off, did you start the company, or was this something you started with other people?
No, I started it about 5 years ago with a couple $100 in my back pocket in the carport.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's the way a company should start, man.
Yeah. So and I've always kept it super small. I grew after a couple years of being on my own with just a couple guys here and there. I started to get some more employees and then dialed it back a little bit after COVID hit for about a year, and then kept this deal where it's just really me. And then I have a couple guys on call, and that way I can really dial in the scheduling of everything and time management, and also keeping a really good quality of work, because everything will just run through myself, and I can
have your hands on every piece.
Yes, exactly. And that's the way it started. And that's the way I enjoyed it most, because I was doing a lot of the hands-on work. And then, when you get employees, you start becoming more of a manager. Mm-hmm. And that's really not my kind of style.
So you relocated to Arizona. How have you been picking up work out there? Did you already have clients out there, like a client base, or like how are you building your business back up after relocating?
That's a good question. I'd be coming out here with my wife for the past 3-4 years. And we've always in the back of our mind thought we might move to Arizona one day, because we always just love coming out here. And just in that thought process, I just naturally found other construction companies or contractors or architects in the Phoenix and Tucson area. And I already knew of a lot of people here in Arizona. So actually, before I left San Antonio, I actually made a business plan for the first time. Yeah. So I didn't make a business plan when I started Citizen Build, but when we relocated, I did a 20-page business plan. I listed a bunch of architects and contractors that I knew about in this area. And then I got together with the guy called Daniel Sheridan, the graphic designer, and he did our shirts and all our branding. And I made a Citizen Build lookbook. And I spent a week and a half when we first moved out here. And I was driving up to Phoenix every day and down into Tucson every day, and just meeting with different architects and handing out my t-shirts and hats and my portfolio. And then lucky enough, we're rolling out here.
That's awesome. Go out and get your name out there, handing out the swag, making people remember you.
Yeah, exactly. And just meeting people face to face as well is always super good. And we made a lot of really good contacts here. And we're actually located about an hour north of Tucson, and then about an hour and a half south of Phoenix. So we can cast our net in both cities, which is super cool.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience just in case they're not familiar with you and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the conversation. My name's Matthew Nix. I'm with Nix Companies and appreciate the opportunity to join you on your show. And yeah, I'm the 5th generation president and leader of Nix Companies is the parent company that I formed, but our legacy company, which makes up the majority of that family portfolio, is Nix Industrial. We started as a blacksmith shop in 1902. My great-great-grandfather immigrated from Germany and started out as a blacksmith. We evolved in the 40s into a little mom and pop welding shop and then eventually machine shops. I mean, virtually in every town in the United States, there's a shop like this. You know, we made and repaired what the people in our town needed. That was predominantly agriculture. We were in Poseyville, Indiana. It's a small agriculture town in southwestern Indiana, about halfway between Louisville and St. Louis, just south of Indianapolis, about a couple of hours. So evolved, into a mom and pop welding shop. And really, our family sort of defied the odds. If you're not growing, you're dying, because for 4 generations, it stayed mom and pop, no outside employees, and just continued to do the work that we do. And they made a great, middle-class living, and they never wanted anything more. And that was fine, and a lot of admiration for that. But my brother and I came along and just saw an opportunity to grow and evolve the business, and been very blessed to be able to do that. I joined in 2004, and by then we were doing some small-time commercial fabrication, but relatively small in quantity and types of work. And in 2010, I hired the first team member outside the family, so that was pretty revolutionary. We were still a welding and machine shop at that time. And since that time, my brother and I have grown the business through a series of acquisitions as well as startups that are all closely related. So we've grown the business to over 200 team members now. We've got 5 different locations, and we call ourselves now a custom manufacturer and industrial repair company. Hence, we rebranded to Nix Industrial. It was Nix Welding, then Nix Metals, now Nix Industrial. So that's the Cliff Notes version of our story.
It is a wild ride, man. Like, that's a lot of growth, because considering you said you didn't join the company until 2004, since
right.
over the past 20 years, that's quite a lot of growth.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Now, I grew up in the business, of course. So I joined full time in 2004. Didn't go to college. I did do a welding trade school for 1 year, but no formal college education. And so, to grow the business like we have, it's been quite a journey for sure. A lot of mistakes, a lot of lessons learned.
What would your advice be to somebody who has a mom and pop shop, but they want to start growing? What's the first steps to growing your business?
Well, you got to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, it's usually not like anything earth shattering, but you can't keep doing the same thing you're doing. I'll give you some quick examples. I mean, when I started out, we didn't have business cards. We didn't have a website. We only had one phone line. We didn't have an answering machine. The phone line was always busy. We had a service truck that didn't have the phone number on the service truck. I went out and bought $90 magnets with our name and phone number on it. We didn't even have a logo. And my dad was like, "Why the hell do you need to do that? Everybody knows our phone number." Well, it wasn't too long. I was out on a service call, and a big utility company was in the area. They were putting internet in the area. They were from out of town. They were going to be in the area 2 years working. And they saw that and they called us. And next thing you know, we did thousands of dollars of work for them over the years. And that was one example. And, like I said, I put a second phone line in for $30 a month because you could never get through. And I built a website. We didn't have a website, and, started getting some leads off of that. And sometimes it's just, you got to do it. You got to get out. I went out and I was selling, boots on the ground, and, went out and knocked on doors and
just putting in the legwork. That's what a lot of people don't like to do, is put in the legwork for it,
Yeah.
When it comes to, I saw that your company was also named one of the best places to work in Indiana in 2018. That's a big thing in the industry right now, is people have a hard time either finding welders or keeping welders. And to have a business that's voted one of the best places, that must mean you treat your people pretty well. What are your views on how to keep your employees happy, and where do you find really good quality employees?
Great question. So Well, we've been named Indiana Best Place to Work 5 times now. We just found out we received that honor again this year.
Nice.
And, the bigger you get, the harder that is. And it's by far the hardest thing we do, and it's by far the most important thing we do. So, once you start growing the business, the people are everything. And so it wasn't always that way either. I mean, when we started out, we had to sort of hire anybody that we could, and, we've evolved over time. And, our vision statement, the very first thing on our vision statement says a world-class team. And that's really important to us. We're trying to build a world-class team. The second part of our vision statement is a nationally recognized brand. And the third part is a transcending generation. So, we want to be around for a long time. And so as it relates to a world-class team, I mean, you've got to create an environment that world-class people want to work at. If you want to have a world-class team, you got to have that kind of environment. And then you've got to treat them in a way that they want to stay. And not everybody stays. And we say we're not for everybody. And we know that. We're okay with that. But, we're all the time trying to, increase the rate at which we can bring on great team members. That means you've got more people waiting that want to work there. But I think it really just comes down to having a good environment and then just treating people with dignity and respect. I mean, again, it's not rocket science, but, it's a lot easier said than done. And so we just try to really treat people, with dignity and respect, to help them find meaning and purpose in their work. I think that's so important. Put people in positions where they can excel and do things they didn't even know they were capable of, and just create an environment that supports that. Of course, you have to have a safe workplace. That's a big part of it. You got to give them the tools and resources that they need to do the job, and that's a never-ending challenge. A nice facility to be able to do the work. Sometimes it's as simple as improving the lighting. When we acquire new locations, that's often one of the big things we do is, improve the lighting. Dress code, cleaning up break rooms and bathrooms, and painting the building, and there's a lot of tangible things as well. But we promote our values and our culture. I sit down with every single new team member at 90 days, and we go through. I do a orientation about our history and about our vision, mission, culture, and values. Really try to set the tone for them about the corporate culture and how we've created this environment to be recognized as one of the best places to work.
My name is Calvin. I am a coded pipe welder from the UK. I mostly do MIG welding, but in the meantime, I do YouTube videos as well, filming all of the stuff that I get up to. Same thing with Instagram, and I'm starting to go off on my own with a mobile welding business as well. So that's just a brief overview of me.
Well, what was the process of starting your company? Because I have no idea what it's like over there. What kind of steps do you have to take to start a welding company over in the UK?
So I'm flattered that you call it a company. I wouldn't go as far as say it's a company yet. It's just me and my van. But
hey, you're doing the work.
Yeah, it has to start somewhere. So for me, where I started the YouTube, I always knew that I wanted a garage. So when I bought my first property, I made sure it had a garage. Where I was on my social media, I was able to get tools and equipment through sponsorships and reviews and things along that. So I was able to basically dock out a garage. So when the time came, I bought my van and I had most of the stuff already. You do your Google ads, promote on social media. People seen me through the social medias, contacted me and gotten me jobs through that way there. But it's just as simple as obviously opening up a limited company and start trading through there, get a business bank account and word of mouth, Google ads, and you have to just get yourself out there. It's really difficult. They say you don't turn a profit for the first couple years of working. Mm-hmm. So fortunately for me, the full-time job I've got is so flexible. So I can do my private jobs on the side, and I've got like a safety hammock of a full-time job whenever I haven't got any work going for me.
I mean, it's always good to have something that you could count on to build something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. I think, what did they say? I think there's a quote where it's, you use the weekends to build the life you want. I think that it goes somewhere like that. So I was using my spare time to build the life that I want, and it's getting there slowly. It's overwhelming to think what more needs to happen. From doing prefab for like the last 10 years, the passion kind of goes.
Yeah.
So the mobile welding is definitely making me excited again for welding.
What is some of the best advice you would give to new welders or people trying to reach that next level of starting their own thing?
Starting their own thing. Hard work is key. Nothing is going to be handed to you in this life, especially with welding. You can't sit back while the team wins and you reap the benefits of it. It's only hard work from you individually will progress you to the next step. So that's one thing that I can say. And another kind of thing for new up and coming welders who think that they can never do it, it is going to be extremely difficult at the start learning how to weld. You're going to think you're never going to be able to get it. Don't stress too much. Make sure you practice a little bit all the time. There's no rush to become the best welder in the world. Do a little bit and sleep on it. You'll find the next day that you come back to it, then brain connections have connected and it's just that little bit easier this time. And at least practice once a day continuously. And then, you're going to find that you can't do it. You can do it. You get good at it. And all of a sudden that skill falls back out. You can't do it again until you can do it again. And then you're going to be proficient at welding. That's the best thing, best advice I can give people, really.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Weld, and a huge thank you to every single guest that's ever come on the show. I've learned something every time, and it means a lot that you take time out of your day to chat with a guy like me. I also want to give a huge shout out to the American Welding Program for making the show possible, and for giving us all 20% off using the code WELD20 if you want to go pick up a new course. Check out everything you can start learning today at AmericanWeldingProgram.org. With all that said, I just want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in each week. Thanks for letting me know what you want to hear. And until next time, we'll see you out there.